One name, suddenly everywhere. One face, impossible to ignore. When Chen Zheyuan officially entered the most handsome men of 2026 list, fans didn't just celebrate, they froze. Because this wasn't just about visuals anymore. This was about a transformation no one saw coming. And the world is only starting to understand why. Segment 1. The moment that changed everything. It started quietly, almost too quietly for something this massive. No explosive announcement, no dramatic reveal, just a list circulating across global platforms, naming the most handsome men of 2026. And there it was, his name, Chen Zheyuan. At first, fans thought, of course, he's always been handsome. But within hours, something shifted. Clips of him began resurfacing. Close-up shots, red carpet moments, drama scenes, angles that captured more than just a good-looking face. They captured evolution. Because what people saw in 2026 wasn't the same Chen Zheyuan they remembered from years before. There was a new intensity in his gaze, a sharper edge in his features, a quiet confidence that didn't demand attention, yet commanded it effortlessly. And suddenly, it wasn't just fans talking. International communities started noticing. Cdrama fans, Cdrama viewers, even casual audiences who had never followed his work before. The question spread like wildfire. Who is he? And why does he feel different now? This wasn't just a man entering a beauty ranking. This was a presence awakening on a global scale. And the more people looked at him, the harder it became to look away. But here's the twist. This moment, it wasn't the beginning of his rise. It was the result of something much deeper, something that had been building in silence. And in the next chapter, we uncover the transformation that changed everything. Segment 2. From boyish charm to irresistible aura. Once upon a time, Chen Zheyuan was known for something simple. Soft visuals, gentle smile, that boy next door charm that felt safe, familiar, comforting. He was the kind of actor you liked instantly, but not necessarily the kind you couldn't forget. And that is exactly what makes his 2026 breakthrough so powerful. Because somewhere along the way, that softness evolved. Not disappeared, no, but deepened. His face matured subtly. His expressions gained weight. And his eyes told stories they never told before. Fans began noticing the difference in his acting roles. The way he held silence longer. The way he delivered emotions with restraint instead of exaggeration. The way a single glance could now carry tension, longing, even heartbreak. It wasn't just visual growth. It was emotional magnetism. And perhaps that's why his beauty started to feel different. Not just something you admire, but something you feel. There's a certain kind of attractiveness that comes from perfection. And then there's the kind that comes from presence. Chen Zheyuan stepped into the second. Suddenly, his visuals weren't just pretty. They were compelling, layered, alive. Fans described it in one word. Dangerous. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in that quiet, slow-burning way that lingers in your mind long after the screen fades to black. And just when people thought they understood this transformation, his popularity began to explode. But not where you'd expect, because what happened next was bigger than any single drama or performance. It didn't come from one scene. It came from everywhere all at once. Short clips flooded timelines. Edits went viral overnight. Moments, small, almost insignificant moments, suddenly became obsessions. A subtle smile, a slow turn of his head, a quiet emotional breakdown in a drama scene. Millions of views. And the comments? They weren't just admiration anymore. They were curiosity. Why am I suddenly obsessed with him? When did he become this attractive? Why does he feel so intense now? The global fandom began connecting the dots. Because this wasn't just about visuals or acting. It was about timing. Chen Zheyuan's rise happened in an era where audiences crave authenticity, where perfection feels distant, but vulnerability feels real. And somehow, he embodies both. He looks flawless, almost unreal. Yet when he acts, he feels human. And that contrast? It's addictive. International fans, especially those from K-drama communities, started embracing him. Comparisons emerged. Discussions ignited. And his name began appearing in spaces it had never reached before. Not as an outsider, but as someone who belonged. Because charisma transcends borders. And Chen Zheyuan, he wasn't just crossing them. He was breaking through them. But here's what makes this story even more powerful. Behind the viral fame, behind the visuals, there was something else driving his rise. Something quieter, something far more dangerous. And that is revealed in the next segment. No scandals, no controversies, no desperate attempts to stay relevant. In an industry that thrives on noise, Chen Zheyuan chose silence. And that silence? It became his strength. While others chased headlines, he focused on growth. Role by role, scene by scene, expression by expression. He didn't need to prove himself loudly. He let his work speak. And over time, people started listening. There's something incredibly rare about a celebrity who rises without chaos. It creates a different kind of trust, a different kind of admiration. Fans don't just like him, they respect him. Because his journey doesn't feel manufactured. It feels earned. And maybe that's why his beauty resonates so deeply now. Because it's not just physical. It carries discipline, patience, dedication. Every glance feels intentional. Every performance feels studied. Every appearance feels refined. This is not accidental charm. This is crafted presence. And when that kind of presence meets global attention, the result? Unstoppable momentum. Which brings us to the most important question of all. Is this the peak? Or is this just the beginning? Entering the most handsome men of 2026 list. For some, it will be the highlight of their career. For Chen Zheyuan, it feels like an opening scene. Because everything about his current trajectory suggests one thing. He hasn't reached his peak yet. The industry is shifting. Global audiences are evolving. And new icons are being chosen. Not just for their looks, but for their depth. And Chen Zheyuan, he fits that future perfectly. There's still so much we haven't seen from him. More complex roles, darker characters, stories that push him beyond the image we know today. And when that happens, his appeal might transform again.